You do it. Make your dreams come true. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just do it.
Here's another thing that is easy to do and is a component of leadership, right? Allowing others to fail. My friend David Marquet, who wrote an amazing book called Turn the Ship Around, check it out, Marquet, was a captain of a submarine, nuclear-powered Los Angeles-class fast attack sub. And Marquet believed, like many of us do, that his credibility as a leader was closely tied to his competence, to his intelligence. You know, we believe that we have to know as much or more than those in our report because this is what gives us credibility as leaders, right? And so, in typical Marquet fashion, when he was assigned to one of the great honors of his career, to be captain of his own submarine, the USS Olympia, he spent a year learning every button, every switch, every pipe, every valve of the submarine. He went through the dossiers of his crew. He knew everything about his crew. He was going to be prepared, and he was going to know as much or more than everybody else on board because he was the captain now. He had to. He had no choice. 2 weeks before he took command of the Olympia, he got a phone call that says, yeah, you're not going to be the captain of the Olympia. You're going to be the captain of the Santa Fe. It was a slightly newer submarine, still an Los Angeles-class submarine, but Marquet realized because it was slightly new, some of the things were different. And he didn't want anybody to know that he didn't know everything. And so he kind of kept it to himself and pretended he knew everything. But that's okay. You know, he's a smart guy. He's a competent guy. He obviously trusted him enough to be captain. He was fine. Then there was another little wrinkle. Where the Olympia was the best-rated crew in the United States submarine fleet, the Santa Fe was the worst-rated crew in the submarine fleet. They ranked last or close to last in almost every readiness measurement in the entire that the Navy had, right? But Marquet figured, that's okay. I have a bad crew. It's all right. I'm going to be a good leader. If I give good orders, I'll have a good ship. And if I give great orders, I'll have a great ship. So they set sail. And about 2 or 3 days into being out there, you know, when they got ready, he was like barking orders, get ready for this, get ready for that. And everybody was following his orders, and off they went out to sea. It was a great feeling, everybody, when they do what you say, right? And about 2 or 3 days out, they were submerged, and they decided to run an exercise. So they turned off the reactor manually and pretended that they were having a meltdown. And they ran the boat on battery power. It's called EPM, right? And Marquet decided he wanted to add a little tension, see how well they would do with more difficult situation. Then he gave a simple order, ahead 2/3. And what that means is run the boat 2/3 its maximum speed. To his side was his navigator, who was the second in command at the time, in the bridge, and he was also the most experienced sailor on board. He'd had 2.5 years aboard the Santa Fe, and he repeated the order, ahead 2/3, and nothing happened. And Seaman Jones, junior sailor, sitting at the controls, was squirming, literally squirming in his seat. So Marquet peers out from the side of his periscope and says, Seaman Jones, what's the problem? And Seaman Jones replies, sir, there is no 2/3 setting. Apparently on this slightly newer Los Angeles, there was no 2/3 setting on the EPM. So he turns to his navigator and he says, did you know this? And the guy goes, mm-hmm. He said, then why did you give the order? He said, because you told me to. And that's when Marquet realizes he's aboard a ship he doesn't understand, and he has a crew that's trained for compliance. It's not like you can just turn around and ask for a new boat or change your crew out. We in the private sector think that we have an advantage because we can hire and fire people. You're assuming that we're hiring and firing the right people. We think that when things don't work, just change the people. Get rid of the weak links. Marquet didn't have this. This was his crew. He's stuck with it. And it's not like in anything else in the world. In submarines, there's no one person who dies. You either all live or you all die. That's it. Those are your options on a submarine. And so Marquet is forced to literally re-examine everything he understands about leadership because bad things will happen if this is the way it goes. And so one of the things he realized is he had a permission-based society aboard his boat. Sir, permission to dive to 400 feet. Permission granted. Aye, sir, diving to 400 feet. In other words, all the authority, all of the accountability lies with the person in charge, with the captain. If something goes wrong, the captain allowed it to happen. Marquet banned the words permission to aboard his boat, and he replaced them with I intend to. The hierarchy is not affected at all. The chain of command is not affected at all. The difference is psychological. I intend to dive to 400 feet. All right. All the accountability lies with the person performing the action now. And so what started to happen was people took their jobs more seriously. And they started to ask each other for help because things went wrong. And instead of wanting to get permission from the boss, now, if the boss asked a question, you wanted to be able to have the answer. Which means when the boss says, did you check the depths? Sometimes he asked and sometimes he didn't. He said, did you check the depths? Of course I checked the depths. What are the depths? 400. You know? In other words, you could never be caught not knowing before you made a decision. Accountability went up. There are lots of other things that Marquet did, which he talks about in his book. Within a short period of time, the crew of the Santa Fe became the highest rated crew in naval history. Not that year, not the submarine fleet, in naval history. Same people, same equipment. It's not the people, it's the environment. It's always the environment. The people are fine. It's always the environment. And this is what leadership is. One of the things Marquet realizes in most organizations, the people at the top have all of the authority, but none of the information. And the people who are actually performing the jobs have all the information, but none of the authority. And in most organizations, they try to get the information up. No, push the authority down. This is what creates great organizations. And what that does is it makes us feel that our work and our lives have value.